One time I remember they passed a law like arresting pastors who are converting people. So they will call whoever is baptizing people or whoever is telling them about God, they need to get arrested right away.
That's Ramya Rajaratnam, and she's remembering one of the challenges she and her husband Raja faced when they were planting churches in their homeland of South Asia.
People were waiting to bring the pastors to the prison.
Ramya and her husband Raja are our guests on this episode of GPS, God, People, Stories. It's an outreach of the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association. I'm Phil Fleischman.
And I'm Jim Kirkland. Raja moved to the States in 2007. His family joined him 3 years later, and he became an associate pastor at a multinationality church in Massachusetts. We can't tell you the country they came from because of the danger it might pose to ongoing ministry work there.
Someone who often spoke out on behalf of persecuted Christians like the Rajaratnams was Ravi Zacharias. He was a popular Christian evangelist and apologist who died of cancer earlier this week. And before we get to the Rajaratnam story, we want to take a moment to pay tribute to Ravi, who was a longtime friend of the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association.
We last spoke with Ravi about 3 years ago. It was at a conference for persecuted Christians. And here's a little bit of what he told us about the need to pray for and support Christians who are persecuted for their faith.
You know, when I travel around and I do a lot, I cover a lot of countries every year, I hear it firsthand and I see it firsthand. But the average Christian will just read a smattering of it in the news, or if a pastor is abducted or something like that. They don't often hear of the deprivation and the lack and the slaughter that's going on in great numbers. If we don't speak up now, it may be too late at some point.
You'll hear some more biblical insights and challenges from Ravi Zacharias a bit later on, and you will also hear from Billy Graham.
Do you have this obsession that Christ is first and His will dominates your life in every area? Then what will you do with His command to go into all the world and proclaim the gospel?
Whether you would like to know more about sharing the gospel of Jesus Christ, or you'd like to know how the gospel can change your own life, we've got one website that can do both. The address is findpeacewithgod.net. That's findpeacewithgod.net. We have a link to the site and a link to more information about Ravi Zacharias in the show notes.
GPS. God. People. Stories.
The culture where we came from that time is mostly 100% is arranged marriage. So one day my mother came and told me that I found a girl and you're marrying her.
Even though the two families knew each other, Raja had never laid eyes upon Ramya before. In fact, the first time he met her was the day of their betrothal or engagement.
And that time, not just alone, we had like 25 people with us. So we were in the same kind of this room. Everybody was sitting. She was in one corner, I was in another corner. I could able to see it just 5 minutes.
Both Raja and Ramya grew up in Christian homes, and each of them had given their hearts to Jesus Christ long before they were married. The cultural tradition of an arranged marriage was no issue for Raja or Ramya.
I wouldn't say I didn't have any choice. I did have choice to say no, but I was praying like God would bring the right person to me. And as soon as my parents said, this is it, and I knew for sure this is from God, because I trusted God first and I trusted my parents next. And I knew for sure this is from God.
The wedding was held about 2.5 months after the betrothal on September 30th, 1999, and they have been happily married ever since. Raja says Ramya is God's answer to the prayers he started praying as a freshman in college.
So all I prayed is, Lord, I need someone that who has the same call like me, the passion for ministry. Otherwise, how hard is ministry. It's a long run. It's not just one job that, you like, or you don't like it, you can just quit and go to another job. Ministry is not like that. Ministry is a lifetime commitment for God.
The ministry Raja was working for when he graduated from college assigned him to be a church pioneer, or what we might call a church planter.
the culture that we come from is completely faith life. So they don't support you, like they don't say there's this much amount that we're going to give you for yearly support or 2-year support. It's all a faith life. So we went to a village that was like most of them Hindu and Muslims. It was a small village. I would say 6,000 people. That's a small village, and it's totally different than what we grew up. So even though we speak the same language, but it's totally a different culture. So it took a little while to get adjust to it.
One of the first major obstacles facing Raja and Ramya was finding a place to live. It wasn't a cultural difference that was the problem. It was actually a religious difference.
That time it was so hard to get house because you're Christian. Particularly the town that we wanted to do ministry, they don't rent Christians because they do say you don't follow our rituals and everything because they expect to do so. And we were not able to do that. So I'm not able to get house.
But then Raja and Ramya met a landlord who had a solution to their dilemma. He suggested that they hire someone to perform the household rituals that the community expected, but which they themselves refused to perform. Then he would rent to them.
So that's why we were able to get a 1-bedroom apartment, and we were able to stay there, and we started a church. And for ministry, no place to go. Sometimes we just go on Sunday morning, standing outside under the tree, and we would start preaching. That's what I really did. Morning time, if I see 5-10 people on the street, I would just go stand on the street, start preaching, and people would hear me preaching the gospel, and I would give them an altar call and say, if anyone here who wants to have a prayer, Jesus loves you, come.
Wherever Raja was preaching or ministering, Ramya was at his side.
I was like full-time pastor's wife. So that means I got to support him in every way. So wherever he went, I was with him because of the place we came from. Sometimes they will, shut their hearts and doors for just if a man comes. If they see a family, it's more open doors. So I always accompanied him wherever he went. So even at the streets and the small villages, even the small houses, I was with him whenever he preached. And I used to sing songs with him and, tell stories, Bible stories to their little ones. And even after I got children, I carried the kids with us wherever we went. So in the motorcycle, we all went together as a family.
Yep, a motorcycle. This evangelist, preacher, church planter, and his wife went everywhere on a motorcycle, even after their kids were born.
Raja also used his motorcycle when he and Ramya would show the Jesus film. That's a movie from Campus Crusade for Christ that's been used by missionaries for decades. He'd set up the projector and speakers on the motorcycle for showing the film. Earlier in the day, he and a friend would use the motorcycle to advertise that night's showing.
We would have a microphone. I will be driving. He'll be in the back saying that Jesus loves you and we want to pray. Today evening, we're going to show the movie in the playground. So that's what I would go around the village like Joshua, marching around praying.
God provided for Raja and Ramya's needs in South Asia in a number of interesting ways, including one of the ways he made sure they always had enough to eat.
When you go to a village, they do harvest. So no matter it's Christian or other religion, they know they need to offer to their God as an offering. So they would bring their grains or vegetables. So when we go to meet them, so